My Very Last Life, Chapter 37, Revisiting t.s.elliot, and Retiring the 3 Jokes that Once Defined Me. Actually, even now, talking about the 3 jokes, I don't know if there was actually 3 for some reason, but I can think of more than 3. But which of those 3? I don't know if it was 3. I don't know if it was 3 or more than 3. But 3 seems like the right number. Anyway, okay. So first, T.S. Elliot. I was listening today to T.S. Elliot in a audiobook narrated by Jeremy Irons. Well done, Jeremy. Good. I don't really like Jeremy Irons, but he did it well. It's the poems of T.S. Elliot. Reads them well. Not too monotonous. Not too overdone, over the top. When I read poetry, am I monotonous or over the top? I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a good reading of T.S. Elliot. And T.S. Elliot was once, when I was young, or in college, I guess, was a big favorite of mine. I loved the poems of T.S. Elliot. And revisiting them, I realized what I loved about them. It was the unexpectedness of the turns of the narration. He does wonderful things with adjectives. He's very good with adjectives. Of course, you can do, most writers are horrible with adjectives. They do everything wrong with adjectives. They use adjectives in a way they should not be used, which is just the adjectives you expect. And if you expect the adjectives, then you don't need to use them because they're already there. They're kind of contained within the verb, or kind of part of, somehow implied by the verb or by the sentence in some way. You don't need them usually. The best people I've ever found who use adjectives, the best use of adjectives, are often English humorist writers like Douglas Adams or Jerome, 3 Men in a Boat. The adjectives contradict the noun they are describing. It's, instead of saying, the very big, the very big guy, they write, the alarmingly big guy. That would be an adverb, I guess. Whatever. It's the same principle applies. They use an unexpected adjective. The adjective is unexpected. So in the unification, the unity of the adjective and the noun, or the adjective and the adverb of the noun, in this little unity, it's like a little kind of surprise of itself. It's like biting into, a cake, and then there's some kind of pop tart in there, some kind of extra thing that if you bite into it explodes doubly. So you got the taste of the cake, and then you're biting into some kind of a chocolate surprise inside, and it's embedded in the sentence. That's a good use of an adjective, and Eliot uses adjectives well. Adverbs too, I guess. I guess it's the same principle. I didn't, this is not a scientific, literary, analysis of Eliot. It's just, I'm just saying, listening to these poems, that's one of the really things I loved about the poems is the adjectives and I guess the adverbs also. But I thought to myself, I wondered, is it as deep? Is it as profound? Is it as consciousness expanding as I thought it was when I was 20 years old? And it's not. I don't know if the poems are even all that intelligent. There are some parts that are very touching, like when he gets depressing. It's very touching because there's truth in that. There's a feeling that he knows what he's talking about, and when he gets depressing, or when he describes the Sweeney poems. He describes kind of a fat old pink man in the bathtub, or having sex and sweating and shaving, and kind of there's kind of a self-disgust of the body. Of the kind of a non-perfect, non-Hollywood body, kind of the normal, average guy who's kind of gone to fat a little bit. Every man is disgusted by his own body. Probably every woman too. I don't know, but every man usually, or I think 90% of men are kind of disgusted by their own bodies, because at least after 25. Because let's face it, it doesn't. it's nothing to be proud of. I mean, if you're Brad Pitt, yes, but 95 males in the world are not Brad Pitt. They're not Fatty Arbuckle, but they're like Sweeney. They're T.S. Elliot. There's who's this guy, this great guy who was in this, who did Sam Adams, who played Sad Adams in the miniseries and played one of the characters in Sideways, the film about the little film, not a great film about visiting the Napa Valley, wine country. And he's got a great voice. I think he voiced the father in Nemo, the Disney or the Pixar film, fish movie. That guy, kind of pudgy, a little bit bald-headed. That's the average man. And the average man, of course, is not ideal. And we know that. It's not, we're Sweeneys. And we're just kind of, we sag, And he's good at that. That's good because it was a sense of honesty in those poems, in the Sweeney poems, and a sense of experience, like I've been there or I still am there in the Depression poems. Okay, but is there some kind of truth, to some kind of mystical truth, did he get through the wall to the other side and look back and see what life is? Could he describe it? No, I don't think so. He was actually, a lot of it was just looking out the window and describing himself looking out the window. He did not, this mysticism that we're so enamored by when we're young in college. And I think a lot of this is college. There's like a college genre of literature and poetry where you have a lot of inexperienced kids. When you go to college, you're inexperienced, right? You've only got, you were a kid until now. You're a kid, but now you're stepping into the realm of adulthood, and so you're supposed to be an adult. But you don't want to be just any adult. You don't want to be like mom and dad. You want to be better. You want to be different. So your mom and dad were, they're concentrating much of their lives about getting the promotion, getting the job, then paying the bills, and so you don't want to be like that. So you reject capitalism and you make a big thing out of it, and even though they're paying your way through college, right? So and then you fall in love with the radicals and with the avant-garde and all that, and I got to tell you, I love that time. I fell in love with a sense of literature at that time. That was my my love story with the postmodernists, and it was great. It was invigorating. It was vibrant. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. But I think and that's like I mean, if I could. That's one of those books, I have kind of in my head, I have a list of books that I would, or genres of books, kinds of books that I would like to write, that I think a writer, a fulfilled, well-rounded writer will have written all these books, including like A Christmas Story. That's the genre of itself. A love story, a fantasy epic, a good thriller or crime story, and then a college story, like The Naked Lunch, or T.S. Elliot poems, or something like that, something radical, different, challenging, and but how much truth is in that? I don't know. When you're in college, when you're that age, you're coming out of childhood and you're looking to expand your horizons into adulthood. You want to be the ideal adult. You want to be the perfect, the Übermensch adult. Not like everyone else. You want to be better than everyone. You want to be. There's something fascistic in young people in general, I think. But that's a great time, and people remember that time. That's the time when the music is best, when all their experience of culture is best, because their mind is going and their mind is revolving like an engine, like a NASCAR engine, going and going and going, and then you remember that, you hold on to that all your life, and all your life you hold on to it, and you try to remain the same person you were in college. You change, of course. When you have children, you become conservative, even though you don't know it. You gotta pay your taxes, right? That's the way it is, right? You gotta send your kids to college, right? So you think about money, you think about getting the job, keeping the job, but in your mind, in your secret life, you're still, the guy listening to the radical music. And of course, for me, and the music was always the same. Music was when you were growing up. For me, the music was the rock and roll of my older brother. You know, the 60s, 70s rock and roll. I still listen to that. I just listened to Stairway to Heaven. It just came on. I listened. I replayed it. I pressed on replay, 3 times. I'm sorry, it's always new to me. It will never be old, because I'm an old guy who was socialized, who learned, who went to college in that time when that was still fresh and young, more or less. More or less, it was. I'm the half a generation afterwards, or generation after, but that was still my music, So, and Elliot was one of those guys. Elliot talked to me because I was the perfect time for his kind of not quite thought through, not quite coming to a conclusion kind of mystical exploration of humankind through language. He learned how to put adjectives together in such a way that you thought, whoa, what is he? Whoa, he's opening a door into something. I don't know what's beyond that door. And of course, you never figure out what's on beyond that door. You never figure out what it really means. You just have the feeling that it means something that you've never thought of before. And so your mind kind of goes into, and it's a great feeling that your mind goes into this place, floats into space, into kind of mystical space that you're exploring without really actually exploring, without really finding anything. But you feel that this is a new free-floating place, and you never lose that feeling. And even now, listening to Elliot, I felt like I was floating in that space. But then I realized, of course, I never found anything. There's no truth there. I didn't find a truth. I didn't find some kind of eternal principle. I didn't find any fulfillment, any purpose in life. I didn't find any. I came away just as kind of depressed and bewildered and answerless as before. I just had a feeling that there was something that I almost could have touched. Like there was almost, I was floating far enough in space that I could almost touch the rings of Saturn, almost touch Jupiter. And then I was pulled back without really knowing what Jupiter means. Does that make any sense at all? Whatever. I don't know. I wonder if that's all that we do. All this stuff from the great books of wisdom, from the Bible to the Greek philosophers to the medieval mystics to the the Chinese Buddhist Zen monks to the counterculture 60s Howl and the Naked Lunch and the Bukowski and up to whatever it is we have to do. We have anything today on that level? I don't know. I think it's all that. It's not really anyone who's found nirvana or found the truth or enlightenment. It's just kind of people who know how to kind of open the door to look for it, or open the door for it, or kind of get close to it. Which is something, right? I mean, getting close to some kind of truth, even though you're feeling, or just feeling like you're getting close to some kind of truth, is still better than just sitting in the mud and just sitting there and just, jerking off when you get home from work all day and watching, some crappy TV show and nothing else. It's still better, right? So listening to T.S. Elliot and then wondering if if there's any truth that he's found is still better than watching Grey's Anatomy, which I've recently discovered, this soap opera, and kind of to relax some evenings I watch this horrible soap opera, and it's really a horrible soap opera. Anyway, I'm the kind of guy who misses the when it's really hot, like Grey Anatomy. A couple of years ago it was hot, and then after it's over, after the phenomena is over, I rediscover it, and I get involved, and then I'm embarrassed, so. And coincidentally, recently I've been often noticing things that once defined me, like T.S. Elliot or postmodernism, but that now I'm just tired of. So T.S. Eliot is not the only thing I'm rejecting. I'm not rejecting him. I'm in the middle of the book of poems I'm going to keep. They're still beautiful poems, right? So I'm not rejecting T.S. Eliot, but it's not the big thing anymore. It was the big thing for earlier life. And that earlier life, I'm realizing now, and I just realized like in the last couple of weeks, and with the T.S. Elliot thing especially, that I am leaving an old self behind. The things that I used to define me are no longer interesting to me. I realized that recently. I don't know what it was. It was something I made cornbread for some friends, and someone said something about it, and when I was going to say something that I often say about cornbread. Okay, so here's the background. The background is, I live in Germany, and so Germany has, like all of the rest of the world has certain cliches about America, which is, hamburgers, right? Hamburgers and Coca-Cola. Okay, so that's the cliche. That's what people eat in America. But no one says there's like a secret cuisine that is, more popular than hamburgers. It's like root beer, which no one outside of America knows, because it's like, for them it tastes like medicine. Cornbread and things made of corn, like grits, cornbread, corn chips, tortillas, which are Mexican but very American. Corn bourbon. Bourbon is corn based, so everyone here says, Scotch whiskey and American bourbon is cheap crap and not the same. But corn bourbon is really good. So we have all these, and corn, the cob and popcorn. So the American eating culture actually is not about the hamburger. It's about corn. It's corn based. And no one knows that. Even Americans don't know that. And so when I get a chance, when Germans say, oh, what is this? It's cornbread. And then I launch into a lecture, a sermon about, American cuisine and corn and the America that no one knows, the non-exportable America. We have the exportable America of, McDonald's, hamburgers, Coca-Cola, I guess, and I don't know, rock and roll and jeans. But we also have the non-exportable America, which is much more complex and probably much more interesting. I mean, I do love a good hamburger, but still, it's the corn-based America. And Thanksgiving, and people don't realize that. I mean, people in Germany think Thanksgiving is a religious holiday or something. They don't realize that it's more important than Christmas. It's more important than the 4th of July. They think 4th of July is the most important. It's Thanksgiving. And so I used to make a big thing, because I would define myself when I came to Europe, I came to Germany, I defined myself as the American, right? Or I was defined that for me. They defined me for me. They, helped me along and said, oh, Eric, this is your new definition. You're the American. I said, okay, fine. That's okay, which is okay, right? So then I would surprise people to try to get points, I guess, in social points, like dinner party points, for by explaining things that people don't generally know, like, the cornbread or the whatever, or the Thanksgiving or things like misunderstood lyrics to songs. Like they only understand because the songs are in English. They still sing them. They still love these songs. Sweet Home Alabama, but they don't know what the Atlantic rhythm section is. So I explained the cultural background of that. Or there was a guy. It was I was sitting in church, in the Mormon church. I was still a Mormon. It was in Munich, and I was sitting in church, and there was a special musical presentation by some of the young girls, and they got together and they were doing a musical presentation in church. I don't think it was a Sunday meeting; it was some kind of evening meeting, it was some kind of cultural talent show or something. And so they sang a song from Cabaret, and it was, I forget what song it was, but it was it was a song about sex, right? It was like Mein Lieber Herr or something. It was like a threesome song or something. I don't know what it was. I forget what song it was, but it was a song about sex. And so they're singing the song. They have no idea what it means. And an older guy, one of the fathers of one of the kids, these, sweet young 12-year-old girls singing these songs and, doing culture. And the father leans over and looks at me and he says, if these girls knew what they were singing, they would just turn red and run out of the room. And it's true. People don't really know what they're singing. Of course, Americans often don't know what the song's about. Every time I hear "Sitting on the Dock of the Bay," "Sitting on the dock of the bay, watch the tide roll away," beautiful song. But no one realizes this is a song about homelessness. In Germany, if you sing a song about homelessness, it's Dum da dum, someone is suffering. The state has not done what it's supposed to do. No one cares. Everyone passes him. He's invisible and he's suffering. It's your fault. You're a bad person listening to this song when you should be giving him money. You know, it's like what's his face? The Genesis guy. Oh, what's his name now? You know, there was Another Day in Paradise. That was the song. Another Day in Paradise in his 80s. Written to make everyone feel horrible about themselves and that he can earn a lot of money on it. Okay, which is, fine, right? That's, rock and roll is all about making people, have some kind of moral, awakening and give money to the band that makes it, right? Like, Pink Floyd. Okay, so that's okay. That's fine. But it's just I don't know. People don't realize that sitting on the dock of the bay is about homelessness and this and that and so I would tell them. And so that's how, for much of my life here in Germany, and I've been living here like 30 years now, that's quite a long time. And I'm kind of embarrassed that I haven't changed my identity in that time, the whole time until now. What I'm saying is that now it's changing. I didn't have, thinking about these things, we're talking about cornbread, I did not have the desire to do my usual spiel about corn as the basis of American cuisine. It just did not. I just thought about it and I thought, oh my God, I'm not doing this again. This is just horrible. I am retiring this. And a lot of these things, I just really am retiring. A lot of things, including political things like, telling Germans that the things they think about America are often not true. Things that Americans think about America are often not true. It's often bullshit. Things that Germans think they know about Germany is often bullshit. They know very little about their own state, about how their state really works and what's really going on. And it's not a shocking. It's a good state. Everything's fine, but they don't realize how their own state, how their own system works. And that it doesn't work quite the way they think it does. And neither do Americans. Americans, one of the things that, Americans think about America is that we're a nation. We're not a nation. We're a federation of 50 semi-sovereign states. You compare it with Germany, and, in Germany, when the chancellor says, we're going to raise the sales tax, the VAT tax, the Mehrwertsteuer, they call it in Germany, from, 15% to 20%, 20% sales tax in Germany, then in all of Germany, it's 20%. But in America, it's every state does it for themselves. And no one knows that. No one gets that. No one gets that every state in America makes their own decisions on about, 50% of any political thing, right? In Germany, any the income tax is all the same. In America, it goes different from the state. There are states in America that have no income tax whatsoever, no state income tax. There's federal income tax. People also don't realize that in America you pay state income tax and federal income tax. In Germany, you just pay income tax. And there's all kinds of stuff like that, right? So, and people don't realize that because they don't realize how different states are made up and how that affects how people think and act and work and how politics are done. And I used to make a big thing out of, I would write, some of my books were about that, right? But I just don't want to do that anymore. Several years ago, quite a number of years ago, I realized that my career writing about this stuff, about politics, about cultural differences, international cultural, phenomena, whatever, had kind of reached its end. And part of me didn't want to accept that it was ending because, it was a sort of income for me and a source of, recognition of people saying, oh, Mr. Hansen, I read your book. But another part of me acknowledged that it was over and said, you have to find a new thing now. And the new thing is some kind of literature, is writing. I started writing thrillers and crimes. I'm defining myself more and more as a literary, or not literary, but a writer of fiction, right? And also, during the Corona crisis, I've gone more and more into teaching writing from an aspect of genre literature mainly. and online, and that is it's part of my redefinition of myself. And so but the whole time I kept coming back to, maybe I should go back to this politics and things and go back. But this week I realized I don't want to do that. I don't need to do that. This whole thing, explain to Germans that everything they think about Germany is different. The joke is over. It's just over. I just don't want to do it again. And I sat there yesterday, or the day before yesterday. I had some friends over, and the cornbread thing and a couple of other things also. And I just thought, oh, not going to say it. Just shut up. It doesn't matter. I just don't want to be there. I don't want to be that person anymore. And I'm realizing that my little dream is coming true. My little attempt to reinvent myself is slowly happening. I'm not sure whether I can go all the way. I don't know if I can reinvent myself into something good. But a lot of the old me of the last 30 years, the American and German, the last 30 years me, it's going. And I'm wishing it good riddance. I don't want it anymore. I'm just thinking, get rid of it. Flush it all out. Just like that, like shit down the toilet. Just get rid of it. I don't want to be my last 20 years, the last whatever it is, the last part of my life. I don't want to be the same guy I was that time. And I want to be all the stuff that was in college, the T.s. Elliot, the whole thing, postmodernism. Get rid of it. And the whole thing I was in Germany, get rid of it. It's over. I just want to, and I'm not sure that I have enough of a new definition of myself. The new me. It's beginning, but I don't know that I have it yet. I just know that for the first time I realize that I have begun getting rid of, successfully, the attempt to get rid of my old self is showing signs of success. I am getting rid of myself. The fact that I just don't care about the fucking cornbread, though I love making cornbread, I love cornbread, but explaining it, I'm just tired of it. Of course, some of it we will still do. I when I do a reading out of our thrillers, I promise, the first thing I do is I give everyone a little. I order a bottle of Knob Creek bourbon whiskey, and then I pour it into like 30 little plastic shot glasses, and give it to everyone in the audience, and then I explain the difference between bourbon and scotch or something. Okay, so there's that. I do that, and I still love that. I will keep doing that because people like it. So and also I like I like bourbon, so I keep doing that. But that's not what defines me anymore. T.s. Elliot does not define me anymore. Postmodernism does not define me anymore. Though I gotta say there are parts of postmodernism that I probably will keep. My love of medieval literature I will probably keep. There are some things I will keep. That's true. But there are some things I will not keep. Maybe even, I don't know, Germany in general. This American in another country. That's in general. That's also kind of getting old, I got to tell you. So I'm getting rid of it. And and one of the things I realized, and this is in the title I said 3 jokes, right? So one of the things I realized that I'm no longer have not been telling for a long time, and have had no desire to tell for a long time, to bring into social situations, was a couple of jokes that I had kind of from the 80s. These are old jokes. Even in the 80s they were old. They're probably from the 60s or 70s. They're old jokes. But I like telling them because they're narrative jokes. So it takes like 15 minutes to tell the jokes. I'd say really long jokes. And I love that because they listen, they want to know what's going on. They're kind of looking to watch it, but they still want to know what's that. They don't leave the room because they want to know how the joke ends. And so I tell them, and they're sitting there, and I feel like I'm completely dominating them and, manipulating them, telling them these jokes. But I haven't told these jokes for a long, long time. And it's kind of too bad because I like these jokes. And my plan was, when I spoke the title, I was gonna tell these jokes, and I wrote down the titles of the jokes. There's well, I actually ended up with more than three. There's the bear joke. There's the Madison Avenue joke. There's the Jewish grandma joke. There's the Hawaiian high rise joke. There's the what is it? Oh, there's the frog joke. There's the there's one or two other jokes. So and there's the Austrian joke with the Austrian neo-Nazi or Austrian Catholic, depending on how you tell it. And I still love those jokes, and I love telling them, and I can tell them well. Because I can tell for some reason I can tell long narrative jokes I'm animated enough so that the telling is interesting enough, and but I don't want to tell them anymore. And I was going to tell them in this podcast. I was going to say them now, but now I've just talked for like 2 hours already. I've talked myself out. This podcast is over. The episode is over. I cannot do any more. I cannot tell these jokes. Maybe I will tell these jokes in a separate podcast. Maybe I'll just do just the jokes or something. But just to say goodbye to them, the last bon voyage of these jokes. Or maybe not. Maybe they'll just die, just dwindle away into the nothingness as they already are. One of these jokes I had a hard time. My favorite joke, the Hawaiian high-rise joke, the favorite joke. There's also the Samoan parking meter joke. Anyway, the favorite joke, the Hawaiian and the Hawaiian thank God it's Friday joke. Anyway, the Hawaiian high-rise joke, that was my favorite joke. I had a hard time remembering it. That's how far away this old me is from my now me, which is, no, it's not even far away from my now me. It's far away from the me that I'm hopefully becoming. And I hope that I will be this now me very soon. If it takes another 20, 30 years to be the now me, then it's too late because I'll be dead. So that's what I'm trying to do. Flush out the old to bring in the new. And I feel like I'm beginning to flush out the old, and it's just in time.
That's it, folks. And thanks for listening. Tune in again next week or tomorrow or whenever it is I do this again. Whatever, I don't know. If you're interested in the things that are really important to me, I write them in books and I put them on videos. Check out my books on Amazon.com or my YouTube channel or my Twitter and Facebook feeds, or subscribe to my newsletter. That's kind of a lot now that I say it like that. Or any of the above, whatever. I hope I can contribute something to your life or to someone's life, anyone's life really, in some way. I appreciate your support, and I wish you all the luck and success and happiness and fulfillment in your life. Take care till next time.